All right, I think people are getting notifications now, so we're gonna get everybody into the room. Go ahead and introduce our
Say
guest,
what?
Coop.
What's going on, good people? I'm Coop, keeper of the flame. This evening we have a special artist, LeFemme Boue. If you'd like to go ahead and introduce yourself to the According to Hip Hop community.
Greetings, according to hip hop community, man. It's LeFemme in your area. You know, I've been doing this whole cool kid conscious community thing for a long time. You know, they say the stars align at certain levels, and I guess my real story is that the stars aligned, and I end up meeting King Ahmad. You know what I mean? Who just understood what I was doing, which I've been doing for a long time. Radar, you know, I started in fashion. I've been doing music for a very long time. My first time in the studio was when I was 13 years old, and it's been an interesting journey since then. I'll say that. Um, you know, I've done some of everything in the business. I guess at this point, I'd be considered an industry kid since I've been in the industry since I was 21 years old. So, you know, a lot of my thought process came from a lot of the greats. And one thing about the greats is that they realized they were great before anyone else did. And so I guess I'm just one of the people that just kind of realized it, and I'm here now, you know?
Right. I want to circle back around to some of the fashion stuff in a little bit too. I agree with you. Like musically, Mike and I were talking behind the scenes, like we always do before these shows, about how balanced of an artist that you are. Like on your mixtape, part of what was so impressive to me about it is that, I think Lost Ones by Lauryn Hill and The Rain by Missy Elliott are like two of the best rap songs ever. And I think they're like canonized like type of songs, and they're very important to our culture. And to hear you cover both of those songs on the same mixtape so well, but you to still be able to have an identity as your own artist, and for me to be able to hear that on records that are inherently that strong, I was like super impressed by that, because stylistically those two women are brilliant, but in different ways. One is a more creative, full visionary artist status, and the other one is more classically trained, singing vocally in the church and MC and bar wise, traditionally what East Coast and hip hop originators would gravitate to. So watching you cover both of just those two songs, I was like, oh, she's hot, Mike. Like we need to talk to her, And then obviously our conversations and the whole vibe and energy. And so, like, I kind of want to talk to you also about some of what you're putting together behind the scenes, which is the artist partnership program. So, did you want to take a minute and just kind of share with us what exactly that is and entails?
Yeah, so I'll start with the covers. Uh, you know, it's interesting because people hear those covers, and like if you haven't heard it, you definitely got to check it out. Um, you know, it took years for me to get those covers ready. You know, those were records that I've sat with for a lot of hours, just diagnosing and studying
Right.
and really wrapping my mind around the concept of what it is to be a female artist in this industry, especially in this time. And what I found was that timeless music was something that couldn't be refabricated. And a lot of what I didn't like was that artists would cover records and you really don't know the true sentiment of the record. And so it sounds like something new. And all actuality, it was like 20 years ago when this was like the it thing. But you
Right.
didn't know that. You weren't aware of that. And a lot of my mission is just to strike awareness, you know?
You embodied a lot of the stylistically what both of those women were trying to do on the record, but you still had your own style. That's what was the most impressive thing to me. Like I even liked how like your wordplay got super funky when you were covering the Rain track. You know what I mean? It's like I could tell artistically you were getting into that vibe and that mode, and that's a beautiful thing to see to me from any artist. So kudos. But back to this artist partnership program that you're cultivating.
So the artist partnership program, you know, came a lot from, you know, on the artistry side with everything that I've created with the LeFemme Boue brand. You know, a lot of my messaging was for artists that really thought that they were dope, but no one would ever hear them. because there's a lot of dope artists out that feel like no one will ever hear them. And so what began to happen was, as the shift in time began to happen, I could kind of see that a lot of my journey started out very interesting. Before I was ever an artist, was actually an artist manager. And so I understood the artist because I am an artist. And so I had that whole like Master P mindset, like I'm dope, you dope, he dope, we dope. And sometimes people couldn't actually grab that concept. And so I created a wheelhouse and infrastructure that allows artists to be able to promote their own product as an independent artist, which is what Chance the Rapper taught us, from a systematic standpoint was a possibility, which a lot of people just never thought was possible, And so with that being said, this program allows artists to come in and promote their own products, create their own environments, and tell their own narratives without the influence of a record label, without someone saying, this is what you should sound like, this is what you should look like. But simply, if you believe in yourself, you put your own money into your own project. And I believe that's what a lot of artists didn't understand coming up. If you believe in yourself so much, why wouldn't you put your own money up before you ask someone else to put their money up? So it's a conversation that we really don't have in the music community amongst up-and-coming artists, which I chose the world of an up-and-coming artist. Even though being in the business, I could have taken the more shiny route, but I didn't think that was in alignment with who I was as a person. And so in doing my work, I realized that there was a lot of groundwork that needed to happen with just the grassroots community. And so that's essentially what I built this model for.
I think that's a beautiful thing. I mean, you're essentially just trying to create a space for artists to be the artists that they intend to be and to create in that space instead of having the industry constraints involved, more or less, correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
I mean,
so what do you think the state of hip hop is right now, just in general, and for just females in this state? Mike and I have been having a lot of fluid conversation just about how the space for females may not be comfortable because of all the misogyny, uses of the word bitch and hoe, of course, and things of that nature. What is your take on that for somebody that is an artist in this craft and that obviously has a love for it? Because, I mean, you got some songs that got some lyrics to them, some drip to it, some artistry to it, some vision to it. So I can see that you're totally embodying hip hop on a few levels. What is your take on it as a female in the craft?
Good question. I feel like societally, the temperature is different than what it actually is in business. So societally, female hip hop is at an all-time low. You have artists like Nicki Minaj, who we hear from very rarely, but we haven't really heard from her sonically in quite some time in a way that's really impactful. And then you have, within the music industry, other artists that are really, really prominent that we have culturally not tapped into at a level that we can really, really connect with. And I think that's what's missing in the female market. This is why we love Lil Kim. This is why we love Foxy Brown. This is why we love these artists that came up, because no matter what was going on, they always had a voice. And I think the closest I can get to that is like a Remy Ma. We love Remy.
I love Remy. Remy's dope too.
She's 360. Right now we understand she's being a mom, and any voice that she could have, she would have it. And I think that it's important to understand that we have people in the community like her that understand the temperature of what's really going on. And I think that that's where true influence in hip hop comes from.
Okay. I think it's interesting that you bring up Remy. I haven't even heard anybody say her name in a while. And it is because she's been active in being a mom. But I mean, for me, when she was out and active, she was the best female MC that was out there when she was out and active. Cardi B just recently made a statement where she said, pretty much, y'all don't be streaming the conscious female rap artists. Pretty much saying, why would I do that? So what do you hear when you hear somebody like Cardi B who's making the cover of fashion magazines now? I mean, and you're involved on the fashion side as well and have been. What is your take on that? Because she's pretty much saying that people like Rhapsody or somebody like you isn't gonna get the attention that you deserve. Is essentially what she's saying. Is she correct?
Well, I think I have the highest approach to a statement like that, right? Because everyone's here to serve a different purpose, right?
Mm.
So I'm not going to take anything away from what Cardi does because I think Cardi's great. I
like Cardi.
She's exceeded the boundaries of like her stance and her optical view from a lifestyle perspective. Coming
Correct.
from essentially is a conversation we all can have equally, right? So then what begins to separate us is what's driving us. And so I feel like in the conscious community, because we aren't selling sex, it makes it a little bit harder to catch the narrative of what we're saying because you can't get past the visual look of us. And I think that just stems back to the record label. So the record label back in the day used to do artist development. So who I was in the rap battle and who you really, really loved, by the time I came out the machine, you really didn't rock with me like that no more. I think now the temperature in society has changed where it may take a little bit longer for me to become a Cardi B. But this is a marathon. So every one of us is in our own lane, running our own sprint and doing our own marathon. And so for her, it's her season, it's her time. And if you're really, really true to this, you understand that transition. It's a movement. It's a moving thing. So everyone gets an opportunity. It's not to take anything away from her or add anything to her. It's just to allow her to be who she is and be in her own space and become and do the things that she's here to do because she has a purpose too.
There's room for everybody on the stage.
I have a question because it feels like when it comes to the conversation of ghostwriting in hip hop, people either expect a female MC to have a ghostwriter or accuse a female MC of having a ghostwriter who doesn't even have one. Do you think that's a big part of, I guess, the imagery that they just put in the forefront when it comes to female MCs in hip hop?
So what I feel like is that if we take it a step deeper to just like a common conversation, a common conversation that telephone happens every day. You can tell me go back to Ahmad and tell him the message. Between the three of us, it'll get mistranslated, right? And I feel like women in hip hop is a total mistranslation because we begin to take the power away from the actual MC and what we do when we step out on the stage and give it to the writer when the writer could never do what I could do, just like I could never do what the writer did. And so we have to understand that collaboration is what we're moving into. We're moving into understanding that a collaborative effort is really truly how artists are artists. Whether you're an MC, whether you're an entertainer, whether you're an actor, that is a collaborative effort. We can't put all that weight on one person. So I can't necessarily say that it is driving the conversation or taking away from the conversation because in all honesty, whether Nicki wrote half the record she did or not, we love when we saw her perform it. And no one stopped the show to say, hey, who wrote this? No one did that. And so when you talk about women in hip hop, it's like, it's relative because a lot of these guys don't rap their raps or write their raps or they don't do half of what we do. Let's just say that. Right. And so because they don't, we catch a little bit more slack because we look a little bit different and we show up a little bit different, but we're doing the same job.
Excellent. So I know you were involved in the fashion world for a while too. I think when I saw your videos, like visually, I could see that you just didn't have a vision for your music, but you had like an artistic and a fashion sense. I want you to talk a little bit about like, your time in the fashion world and also kind of speak to us about what you're working on, like outside of the artist partnership program, like personally, music-wise, what you have upcoming.
So in real life, I'm actually the VP of Fashion and Design for a how do I say this? I just want to save the planet. That's my whole thing. I want to save the planet. I believe that going green is the future of operations, whether it's from a household perspective or just an operational perspective for the common consumer or for people who are disattached in that way. And so I work for a company called Cultivate, and I make clothing from hemp. And, I believe that hemp is the future. I believe that there's a lot of different things that we can access from it that'll give us some different opportunities and create some different conversations. So, from a fashion perspective, I really believe that the future of fashion is hemp. And so that's why I'm there, because I'm going to be creating new designs and new structures and new infrastructures for not people like myself, but people who are outside, whether it's artists who are making their merch and, restaurants who need help. I really want to position myself to be able to be a catalyst in a plant-based community.
Absolutely. And hemp has thousands of uses that people don't know about. It's a very valid point. So on the music side, what do you have forthcoming, or what have you been working on? You got anything bubbling for us that you'd like to share with the people?
So on the music side, it's been interesting because in my artist program, a lot of what I do is collaborations with other artists. And so there is a few collaborations in the queue right now. My artist Ari Dixon, he's about to release on the 18th. We're definitely going to be doing something together. There's a couple different people I got in the queue, but I can't release it just yet.
Okay.
But definitely look out for Mr. Dixon, man. He's a big deal. He is a reflection of me, and Ahmad, I know you've had that impact and that experience. We come and we bringing something with us.
I mean, I've talked to Ari too. I mean, how I feel about both of y'all. I think both of y'all are special people, and y'all are like special people actually making special music. I was upstairs with Cuz, and we was getting excited because we was talking about you and Ari working together, and it was getting us excited. It was like, yo, I can't wait to hear what they got cooking together. So like that's legit, and I can't wait. I want to thank you so much for coming on and spending a little time with us. Did you want to leave us just with anything, parting words, shots, thoughts, ideas?
Nah, man. Thank you guys for having me, Ahmad. Thanks for always believing in the team.
Thank you.
Out with the crew. You already know what time it is. We definitely got to pull up and get Ari in here. He's texting me right now. That must be the stars aligning again.
That's that energy again we talked about.
He like, oh, what's she doing?
Right. That's that energy that we talk about. 369 with it.
And so, I definitely am just grateful to have done this. Definitely want to open the platform and share the floor with other people. And help to see that you guys are really, really spreading the message on what's really going on in hip hop.
Appreciate the love. Thank you very much. Yeah. We appreciate it. And I'm gonna be talking to you soon, and we'll be talking to Ari soon, hopefully. You said the project's on the 18th?
Project's on the 18th.
Okay, yeah, we're gonna make sure we get all that on.
I'm about to say, what's the title? Does he have a title yet? Is the title yet?
Mr. Dixon.
Minister Dixon, of course.
That's Mr. Dixon.
Okay.
All right. Well, yeah.
That first big shot is about to drop, so we love to feature it with y'all. So let me know.
Yeah. No. We're gonna talk for sure.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's do it. It's time.
It's time. We're all for the work. We're all about that.
Yep. Let's get it.
All right. Well, yeah. Come back through when you got. You know what I'm saying? When you guys are ready to deliver it.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll circulate back through, and then, another thing, we want people to start getting acquainted with people we're acquainted with and chime in. So come chime in on us sometime if you hear us talking like on a subject or something that you feel like you have some input, because it's just super important to me that women's voices get heard in the space, because it's like, even when I just want to say this, even when you look at how the media like sets it up for hip hop, it's like the woman in the crew always says the least. Even how the media sets it up, So it's like, jump in anytime and please share your thoughts. We appreciate you.
Open, man. I appreciate you guys. Love to you both. Thank you for having me, man. I'll be in touch.
Will do.
Peace. Blood Queen.
Yep. Hey, that's dope, man. Yeah, she's dope.
Yeah, she's dope. Special.
Well, there's more new music coming out. It is Thursday, so at midnight we got some music dropping. Nas is dropping his single. It's called Ultra Black. Ultra Black. It's gonna be the first single off of his album that's coming the following week called King's Disease, and the entire album produced by Hit Boy.
Fascinating.
The single Ultra Black produced by Hit Boy. We're gonna hear that at midnight. Now, I mean, skipping over to King's Disease, that's gonna be 14 tracks. You know what I'm saying? 2 times what he gave us last time on Nasir. And Nasir, of course, was produced by Kanye. This one's gonna be produced by Hit Boy. And honestly, I don't think we've heard Hit Boy and Nas before, right? We've never heard them together, right? Never? Okay, well, so tonight...
I'm just finding out this information from you about an hour ago, so I didn't even have time to go check if there's even been a verse somewhere on a Hit Boy record, but I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I think we're going to know in midnight based on Ultra Black. I think that's going to kind of give us some level of how this project's going to sound. I think in today's climate, Ultra Black is a very interesting topic. I mean, not topic, but title of the song. And for Nas to be the person to do it, I think this is very timely. I know we've been talking about Kendrick or Cole possibly coming through with efforts during this time of social unrest and uprisings, but here comes Nas. Now, do you think it's going to be one of those?
Do I think it's going to be one of those what exactly?
One of those revolutionary projects. One of those albums that speaks to the times that we're in.
You know, I would say with the exception of maybe a Chuck D, Ice Cube, or Tupac, he would be the person that you would want to do that in this time. Is that a pretty fair assumption or safe to say?
I think that's safe to say. I think that really is safe to say. I think that
I think it's just surprising. We thought, I guess we all didn't even consider him doing this because we thought he was kind of like past this moment of doing stuff like this. Like, this is something that somebody more current would probably take on.
I think
I'm fascinated and interested to see.
Well, I know
the Hit Boy pairing has me fascinated too, but I'm funny about Nas with concept albums. They haven't gone, ideally well.
Well, you're a Nas guy. I mean,
feels kind of conceptual.
Is it safe to say Nas is your favorite rapper?
Yes.
Okay.
Easy. Because Andre 3000 doesn't make enough material.
So are you excited about the pairing with Hit Boy, or who do you rather normally like to hear Nas with, production-wise?
Production-wise, I've always said he's like that fundamental hip-hop guy of all the hip-hop guys, so I want to hear the Pete Rocks, Premiers. If you want to, Salah Remy, the stuff he's done with Salam has been pretty dope, most notably on Godson. Like, he does so well in those hip hop pockets. Like, Mike Made You Look is the Apache break loop. You know, If I Rule the World is the Curtis Blow break loop. Taking in Blood is that little G-Rap sample. Like, he does great in those pockets. So it's like, that's what I typically want to hear. But if I don't hear that, I want to hear him have help, which is what we talked about. Like, I like Nasir more than a lot of people did because it's like, first of all, I don't feel like he even really wrote that album. I felt like he just scribbled and then hit the booth and like freestyled most of it. But he had help. You can tell that like Kanye was helping him cultivate thoughts and songs, and it's just different to hear that from a Nas album. I told you his career would be totally different if he had more full sounding songs like Everything and Bonjour and Adam and Eve. It wouldn't even be a question if he was the greatest MC of all time if he had more full sounding songs like that.
I think Illmatic is what it is, right? And I think that Illmatic is a timepiece production wise. And I think Nas's whole career, he's been chasing what the current sound is. When it became Trackmasters, it was that, right? No, I'm talking about like as far as working with producers. So it does. I don't see him ever really going back to a sound or to a producer.
Right.
It's going to be moving forward to who's the producer now. He's always done that. Even when he picked up Salam Remy, you know, that was somebody that he hadn't worked before, but he was moving forward with a different sound. So I think
well, here's the thing.
days of us seeing him in Premiere making an effort, I just don't see that happening. I think even Kanye.
No. But I'm not saying that it has to be Premiere, but you're asking me sound wise. Like, how about this? Like the records that Derringer's doing up for Griselda. Like that stuff. Like he sounds like it was written. Like I told you, Mike. Like he sounds great over Havoc's beats. Like Live Nigga Rap, the setup, that Alchemist, Derringer, Havoc, Prima. Like
now, I would like to see Alchemist and Nas. I would like to see Alchemist and Nas. I'd
like to see Havoc. I always wondered why Havoc didn't do more tracks for Nas. He's done like 3 Nas tracks, I think, maybe 4. I would love to see Havoc do so much more work with Nas. Look how dope Nas sounds on all of my Beats projects.
Do you have any?
So that's the stuff that I want to.
Do you have any expectations for Ultra Black that drops at midnight? What do you expect to hear as a Nas fan?
I mean, see, that's the thing. Nas's first singles are never indicative of what the album really is going to feel like. Like, Illmatic doesn't really feel like It Ain't Hard to Tell. It Was Written doesn't feel like If I Rule the World. Yep. I Am sure as hell don't feel like Nas is like. Nostradamus is next. Made You Look, the hardest song on Godson. You know what I'm saying? So it's like Nas's first single doesn't mean anything to me. It gives you no indication of what the album is going to sound like. So it's like, if it's dope, how about this? If the record is super dope, it's actually going to make me get a little bit frightened that the album's not going to be that good. The last time that he made a really, really great first single and made a really, really great album on top of it was when he dropped Made You Look and dropped Godson. Isn't that fair?
Yeah. And
a great single with a great album to follow it. Yeah, Godson.
Yeah. Godson. I mean, not Godson's a great single, but Made You Look's a great single. One of my favorite.
You don't like Godson?
It's good. It's a good album. Okay. I wouldn't say it's great.
You think that's one of Nas' 5 best albums, right?
Yeah. Let's see. 5 best albums. I got Illmatic.
5. It'd probably be 5.
Got Stillmatic. We're counting the Lost Tapes.
Yeah. We don't have a choice because the Lost Tapes is the only reason that. Look here, if he doesn't get bootleg, the version of I Am and Nostradamus that hit the stores doesn't even happen. Career is totally different.
Okay, so my 5 would either be Godson or Life Is Good.
So hold on, Illmatic, It Was Written, Lost Tape, Stillmatic. No, you're right.
Yeah.
Godson's better than Life Is Good because he's a better MC. And Made You Look is on Godson.
I give you that.
Come on,
Made You Look is the edge. Made You Look, Last Real Nigga Alive. Those are edges right there.
Yeah.
All right,
it's better than Life Is Good.
So what are we expecting on the Nas album that's dropping next Friday? I guess.
I mean, should we expect a great album from him at this point in his career? Because you and I were just having a conversation. It was great. It was great that Life Is Good was great. That was 2012. That was 8 years ago. Like, that was a good job that album was dope.
Yeah.
8 years. Like, I don't know. And he's my favorite, but here's where I do get excited. Some of the records that he's done the last few years, they've been brilliant, Mike. Echo off the Swiss Beat joint.
That was great.
Like Echo.
I forgot about that.
Last year. Echo might have been my favorite record last year. That was one of the 2 or 3 best rap songs last year.
Was that
Mike.
last year or was that
3000 on that one? It's like that was I think that was like the only real song he did last year, and it was one of the dopest songs of the year, like top 3 or 4.
Was that last year or was that 18?
I think it was 19.
Okay.
The album Done joint on College joint, She a Major Key, like like done some joints that's made me be like, okay.
Nasir,
I don't know.
Nasir's not as bad as people made it seem either.
I told you, Mike, I enjoyed it. I still thought still thought it was one of the best projects that year. It wasn't as aesthetically pleasing to me after hearing it for a while because I could see the parts of it that were rushed.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was visibly rushed. He's the type of guy that he just yields better results when you give him time. It's like I was saying, he'll hear the same beat and write 3 different songs about 3 totally different topics over the same beat. Pick the best song, you know.
Well, I think that the intriguing part here is him working with Hit Boy for the whole project. It's going to be 14 songs. I think tonight's going to give us some sort of indication of what him and Hit Boy sound like.
Appearances too. Like, is it straight Nas? Like, are we going to get like, you know, him and Ross?
Do you want features? Do you want features?
I usually don't. I usually want about like of my heavy hitters, like the Jays, the Nas's, like those heavy hitters, those legends. I usually only want to hear about 3 or 4 records, but I do be wanting to hear some stuff. Like I have never heard like Nas do a song with Pusha T, or you know, it'd be nice to hear him and Kendrick on a record together. Like start doing some legacy stuff. That's like
I think him and Kendrick might be on a record
together over the years. I like him and Ross together for some reason. They make good songs together.
I think him and Kendrick might be doing a record together. Remember a couple of months back they took that picture together like they was recording something?
Well, wouldn't that be dope if Nas is dropping this album at this time and it's like, you know, Kendrick's on the Nas album? Yeah. And that'll kind of like some of this, Kendrick needs to, you know, I would like it if Kendrick would actually address people addressing him, not addressing it on the Nas album. That would be dope. He's good for stuff like that. But also, too, you know, I mean, isn't he the only guy since Nas that you really feel like lyrically could body Nas in his prime or like give Nas some push?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the weird thing about Kendrick is the fact that stylistically they're not similar in that way. I think Kendrick's a little bit more similar to Eminem stylistically, but just their approach. Lyrically. Yeah, but just their approach.
When he does what he does, When he does what he does, like on feel, like he can fade Nas, like with stuff like that. Yeah. And so it's like, if I was Nas, I would also be mindful of your legacy of walking in with Kendrick still, you know, visibly in his prime. You know, don't have somebody pull a verbal intercourse on you.
I mean, listen, man. I mean, I think it's safe to say at this point in certain artists' career, if they both get on a song together, Kendrick's gonna have a better verse. I mean, just because of where Kendrick is in his career and where Nas is in his career. It's kind of like when Ab-Soul got on that Common song, right? And killed Common. And it's not just because Ab-Soul's the better rapper than Common. It's just he understands the moment. And for Common, the collaboration isn't as big as it is for Ab-Soul. It's what it is.
So I'm going to bring up the whole God don't bleed thing with Benny and Kiss, and you feel like Benny having the better verse, but I'm like, listen to how great Kiss' verse is and how many times he's done something like that. See, something like that is respectable. I'm not getting waxed on record. And I still think Kiss' verse is just as dope. But
when we've heard so much of a person over the years,
right, it's hard for it to trigger or register that level of excitement. And Kendrick still does that. So but it's going to be interesting to see. I mean,
at this point, are we going to say that Nas is going to drop one of the best verses we've ever heard from him? I don't think so.
Those days were gone a long time.
That's what I'm saying. But we're not. That's not where Kendrick is. Kendrick's at a place where we could hear one of the better verses that he's ever spit. Yeah.
Fascinating.
We can.
You think so?
Yeah. I feel like on Damn, since you brought up Phil. Yeah. I think the last verse of Phil is one of his better verses ever.
I think, that's one of his 5 best verses.
But that was 3 years ago. If we're being honest.
Phil is one of his best songs ever to me. Like, it's personally one of my 2 or 3 favorites. Nobody's expecting Nas to be super lyrical, but I mean, you know, I would like to hear a dope album from him since he wants to drop it around this time with the artwork looking the way it is in the single and all that. Here's what I mean about not trusting the single. You remember when Nas dropped Where Y'all At? where he took the sample "Where them gangsters at? Where them dimes at?"
I remember that.
You remember that?
I remember.
Yeah, that was supposed to be the first single, Mike. That was the first single off of one of those albums. What happened? Like, he does stuff like that. It's like, this first single may not even make the album, and the album's supposed to drop next week. Remember how the album got held up last time because they didn't have Puff's vocals over the Not for Radio?
That wasn't even necessary, I don't think.
And he's also one of those guys, too. It's like, you just waiting to hear the album. You're not really waiting for the single like that.
Well,
are you?
Another person dropping tonight.
Wait,
huh?
No, Find Out at Midnight.
Another one dropping at midnight is going to be Dave East. And Dave East has a host of features on this album, man. He's got Trey Songz. He's got Trey Songz, Pop Can, Trouble, A Boogie with the Hoodie, Doughboy, Young Dolph, Benny the Butcher, Mary J. Blige, like 15 tracks, Karma 3. What do you expect from this one, man? Is this going to be one of the stronger albums of 2020?
Is he trying to make it his breakthrough album? When you read the feature list, I was like, okay, breakthrough album for Davies? Is that maybe?
I mean,
do you think he's reached the level that he's going to stay at and that he is? Like, and how would you classify that?
Where does Dave East, I guess, live in this echelon or this generation of hip hop artists? Is he, like, I guess, Harlem's version of Big Crit, maybe? Or more than that? I don't see, the weird thing about him is I don't know if he has, like, the core following that Joey Badass has.
Really? I always kind of looked at them like having similar core followings.
I think Joey Badass has the backpack following where Dave has, like, the Harlem gangster follow, like the hardcore New York music, the album with Styles P, street shit. Like, I don't feel like Joey Badass is a street New York artist. It's more of like I said, like, he rhymes over the Dilla stuff. It's more of that kind of thing.
No, that's fair. He's more versatile maybe than Dave East in terms of different pockets he can get in.
It's more of a vibe with him, whereas with Dave East, it's about
a head nod. Vibe.
Yeah.
It's more of a vibe. Dave East is more of that boom bap, more uptown with it. Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking forward to it because Dave East, honestly, he's consistent. And, he doesn't really change up his sound too much. If you're into that hardcore New York hip hop, that's what he's going to give you.
I think if he's one of those guys that if you like him, you like him, and if you don't, you don't. Like, people who like him think he's dope and like his shit, and other people are like, I don't like him, he don't excite me.
Yeah.
You think that's fair?
I think that's fair. I think that, and with people like that, I think that he stays consistent to who he is because he knows that he's not out here trying to get brand new fans. But this is going to be his first effort.
Well, hold on, but listen to that list again. Young Dolph, Mary J. Blige.
Yeah.
I mean, like, he's trying to get some new fans.
Yeah, you're right. And the fact that he's been on TV too, I think that, you can't discount that. So it's like, that's actually going to be a part of him expanding, Like, I think we saw that with, I saw that with Janelle Monáe, right? Once she started doing films, movies, that next album after her film success sounded so much more mainstream than everything else. Because now you got people watching. And it's like you're making music not just for your core following anymore, but for the new fans who've seen you in the Wu-Tang series, possibly. What's up?
That's a perplexing place to be in as an artist. It really is, where people are watching you. Like, Mike, like I don't know if you noticed, like, even Tasha was talking about the collaborative effort earlier. Mm-hmm. Prince's hits are with the revolution. Like, if you go look at his hits, like 70% of them were made in the time span that he was with a band.
Yeah.
Like with other songwriters and musicians in the band.
Well, honestly, man, Lisa. when Wendy and Lisa came, you could tell a real big difference.
Right.
Yeah.
The hits, like the top 20 hits, became top 5 hits, Mike.
Yeah.
And even with Mike, it's like you see the difference when Mike stopped working with Quincy Jones.
And it's like when people compare Mike and Prince, it's like
I'm not comparing. I'm just saying.
No. Yeah. I got you. No, I know you're not, and you're actually doing it justice. Because a lot of people don't even do that. Because people don't even acknowledge the revolution or New Power Generation. They make it seem like Mike had help, Prince had no help. Although Prince could do a lot by himself and has done a lot by himself before, he had a lot of really talented people around him. And that's a collaborative effort. And in my opinion, I feel like the best music is made in collaborative efforts. That's why one of the reasons why I feel like Public Enemy is such a one-of-a-kind hip-hop act. It's such a collaborative effort from top to bottom. That group's not the same without any of those guys.
No, Mike, I mean, like, I believe Sign of the Times is his best album, but it's also the album where the revolution's not there and the hits aren't as big. Like, it's his best album, but all the hits were made mostly, with the revolution.
Yeah.
1990, Purple Parade, like all, yeah. So
I think that
there's some credence to like the whole collaborative effort.
We've had that conversation, the Sign of the Times and Purple Rain. I mean, I go back and forth. I think that it could go either way. I'm a fan of both projects. I would have to say Purple Rain, top to bottom, but I will say this: Sign of the Times is definitely the most rounded album possibly ever made, period. But definitely the most rounded album he's made.
Like Mike, he's doing James Brown and Stevie Wonder on that album, like as well as they do it.
Yeah. And
it's still doing like Prince stuff on there. Like it's pretty special. But back to these rapping ass rappers, Mike.
I'm looking forward to the Davies project. That's one of those.
I am always check for Davies.
Yeah. We're all gonna be listening to the Nas album. We'll probably stream it live on According to Hip Hop. I don't think that there's anything that Nas could do at this point to blow us away. I mean that respectfully. I think that everything that he does, the anticipation is so high that unless, like you said, he got a major look or something in his back pocket, I think that we're all gonna, people are gonna be like, that's cool. If it's really good, I think the most people will say is that's cool. Kind of like Nasir. Because Nasir has some really good moments, and I think people were like, that's cool. I don't think that the current climate of how much music people put out and how much new stuff comes out every Friday, that people who record with the process of Nas a slower pace, I don't think can keep up with that kind of stuff.
Right. So let me ask you something. Is he considered, because I'm biased, is he considered in most hip hop circles still has like one of the 5 greatest MCs ever? Yeah. Like how has he aged? Because I'm gonna I'd say like around 2000, you had people like Slick Rick and Cool G Rap were still in most people's top 10 like around 2000. And as you get to 2020, it's like it's hard to find them in most people's top 25 to 50 sometimes. And so how has he aged outside of his prime, unbiased opinion?
All right, I'm gonna be real honest. Me personally, I mean, like I said, I like Godson. I think the last great Nas album was in 2001.
Stillmatic?
Stillmatic is probably his last great album. Yeah.
So you don't think Godson is great?
I don't.
Okay. I do.
How does Godson match up with stuff like The Fix? Or you know what? Because to me, a great album is in that era. Let's keep it in that era. The College Dropout, the Black Album. How does Godson really match up against the Black Album or Get Rich or Die Trying?
Okay, so we're talking about his fifth or sixth best project versus people's first or third or fourth
No,
best
no, we're
project.
not saying it like that. We're talking about great albums of that time period.
But I get what you're saying for the time, but also what I'm saying is that I mean, probably feel the way that I feel. Black Album is Jay's third best album after The Blueprint and Reasonable Doubt, isn't it?
Definitely. Yeah.
So it's like, so the more fair comparison is like something like the Lost Tapes are still matic to the Black Album. You get what I'm saying? I get what you're saying stylistically, but I'm saying like let's compare other artists who are as great as him. Like go pull up their fifth or sixth best project and sit that next to Godson is what I'm saying.
Well, I
hear what you're saying.
I think that goes.
No, that album wasn't as great as those albums that you mentioned, but it's like is Godson better than Kanye's fifth album? What's Kanye's fifth album? You know, fifth or sixth best album. What's Kanye's fifth or sixth best album?
Off the top of my head, I don't think so. I mean, I think with Kanye, we got The College Dropout, we got My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy,
My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy.
We got Late Registration. We got probably Graduation there, and then that's when we go either 808s and Heartbreaks or Life of Pablo. Is that where we're going? Hold on.
So 808s and Heartbreak and Life of Pablo aren't better than Godson, are they?
No, they're not. No. But see, you know what? That goes to Nas's overall greatness.
Hold on. And most people think Kanye has a better catalog. Right. So sure about that?
I will say this.
Yeah.
I will say this. All right, we're talking that top five, right? I think Kanye's 2, 3, and 4 are better than Nas's 2, 3, and 4.
I don't agree. I don't think it was. I don't think late Registration is probably my personal favorite Kanye album, but I mean, just lyrically, it was written as just somewhere Kanye can never go on any album.
I'm gonna say something very controversial. I'm gonna say something very controversial right now. I think Late Registration is a better album than It Was Written. I also think My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy is a better album than Stillmatic.
I agree with that. Braveheart Party.
You know what album I'm not really a huge fan of that people love so much? Graduation. I'm not a huge Graduation person.
It's not, I mean, it has maybe my favorite Kanye record on there, which is Flashing Lights. But the records on there, how about this? The records on there didn't hold up well, Mike, outside of Flashing Lights to me.
Well, you know what? Speaking of not holding up well, Jason McBride said I Am. And you know what? I Am doesn't sound as good to me now.
The real version of I Am, the real version, they got bootlegs better than anything Kanye ever made, but whatever.
Well, we can't count stuff that didn't come out. But the actual I Am that came out, it's kind of underwhelming. Outside of New York State of Mind,
hold on. You said better than. Hold on. You said 2, 3, and 4. So I would argue with you all day about It Was Written in Late Registration, and I love Late Registration. You can definitely have anything against I Am and Nostradamus that Kanye had third and fourth. What was that?
Now we got Lost Tapes versus Graduation.
Lost Tapes. It's got do-rags on it, Mike. Do-rags.
I love Lost Tapes.
There's not one song on Graduation better than Do-Rags. Mike, Do-Rags is how the Lost Tape starts off. Next question.
You know what? I think we should put those together in a poll, man. That's interesting. I personally like the Lost Tapes more, but people hold Graduation so high, and I think that the significance of Graduation and the fact that it overtook gangster rap on the mainstream, Graduation's one of the reasons why hip hop hit that turning point where it was It was cool to be like Kanye on a mainstream level. That's when he took over the game. I think the timing of graduation for a certain era of hip hop listener is monumental. You ask somebody in their early 30s what's their favorite Kanye album, they're gonna say Graduation.
So sonically, I think what he did on Late Registration is what opened up the lane for him to do that. Him working with John Bryan on Late Registration is what made that possible and gave him the momentum to make that album and take the Daft Punk samples and to go into his whole stadium flow. That's why like everything that Graduation is, it only goes off well because of Late Registration. Like if he just drops Graduation right after the College Dropout, no.
I feel like it's between Late Registration and My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy as far as like his best rap performance. Because, you know, like I tell you, like on
those are the two best albums to me.
On Diamonds, when he just opened up with the whole Close Your Eyes and Imagine, Feel the Magic, Vegas on Acid, Seen Through East St. Laurent Glasses, he was clearly a much better rapper than he was from College Dropout. And I don't think he reached that level of MCing on Graduation that he did on Late Registration either. I think he toned it down on Graduation, honestly. And I think it was more about the sonics on Graduation than it was about him rhyming.
I told you, he was just making stadium music. On Late Registration, he sonically cleaned up and made it sound dope, but lyrically, like it as an MC, that was him at his best. That My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Like Rose's Mike, I know it's past visiting hours. Can we please send it out? Like he was somewhere else with it, Mike. Like around then. Like
you know what? I give him that on the My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy era too, because on those Good Fridays that he was releasing and Chain Heavy, I really hated Chain Heavy didn't make that album. The one where you know what I'm saying, Talib and how did he start that verse off? The one about the man who bears the cross. No matter how many beatings, they couldn't beat it off. Yeah, that verse was crazy. That was Kanye rapping at his best, to be honest. He had a chip on his shoulder during My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. I don't think he'll ever get that chip back.
He did. He'll never have. So hold on. So you said like Nas isn't inspired. Like, so define inspired, because it's like, do you think Kanye's been inspired with the stuff that he's been making?
I think Kanye's a producer.
Like define
so I think Kanye as an MC might not have been inspired for a long time. But I think Daytona lets us know that Kanye's been inspired as a producer and as an arranger and somebody who can put together a project for people. So musically, yeah, he is. But I think as a rapper, he even said it on the song with Kendrick, No More Parties in L.A. I mean, he was saying that, you know, he hadn't been inspired, rap-wise. I mean, yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, Kanye is probably one of the more honest artists that I think we'll ever see. And so he pretty much tells you everything he's going through. And right now, what he's going through, I don't think that his music is going to reflect very well. Yeah. So,
No, it's just, you know, I'm only bringing Kanye up because it's like, I know we did that post where we compared Kanye's catalog to Nas, but it's like, I be telling people, it's like, oh, okay. Like, you know, not really though.
Nas has a sneaky catalog.
Great. That's what I mean about how great Nas really is. It's like people think that I'm so biased. It's like, no, dude, he's got the rhymes. He's got the guest appearances. He's got the hits. He's got the catalog. He's got the trend setting. He's got the ventures. Like he's got illest who ever did it, you know, credentials. Not too many guys have it. Like ever.
Well, you know what? Back to the whole inspired.
Mike, he's the best. He's the best MC ever to me. Like, because when I talk about other people's runs with lyrics, it usually ends with a year. As in, Rakim in 88, Big in 97, Jay in 2000. When you talk about Nas's run, it's 94 to 96.
Yeah.
What we talk?
I think while everybody was in their prime and everyone was alive, I think Nas was the best rapper, MC wise, lyrically, of all of them. And when you got a group like Wu Tang that is by far the most lyrical group of all time, that praises him in the way that they do and did even in that period, that says a lot.
RZA used to say that like the Bible for lyrics should be like Rakim's Paid in Full and Follow the Leader and everything that Nas did like up to like the Firm album pretty much.
Yeah, I mean,
and he's right.
The way
everything Nas did from the time that you heard Nas till the Firm album came out was lyrically masterful.
The way that
everything.
The way that Ghostface and Raekwon, just hold Nas high. Even in this post where Nas is posting about this single, like you could tell that Raekwon's excited by the comment that he put on there. Like he's ready. And like he's a fan. Like Ghostface and Ray are Nas fans. Like they would be fans of Rakim.
A Nas fan. Like all these guys are Nas fans. Jay is a Nas fan. Mike, why you think he took the sample?
Well, you know the story.
Yeah, all these guys.
You know the story behind the sample.
How about this? He's their guy. Like those guys that everybody else loves so much that don't love Nas as much. Well, they all love Nas that much.
Well, Jay-Z.
And they were.
I think Jay-Z is the Michael Jordan of hip hop in more ways than one. I mean, I watch The Last Dance all the time, right? And I think that competitiveness that Michael Jordan had, I think Michael Jordan's probably the most competitive person I've ever seen ever. And I think that Jay is the only MC in hip hop that took on that whole competitive nature, especially in his era. I think Kendrick's competitive to some degree, but I think that Jay, he looks for a target. Nas was his target.
That doesn't make him the best, though. Being the most competitive and being one of the best doesn't necessarily make you the best. I'll give you an example.
Why is Jay not the best? Tell me why Jay's not the best.
I mean, okay, first of all, and I've said this to many people many times, you can't lose to your biggest competition and be considered the best. That's like people thinking Joe Frazier's better than Ali when Ali won 2 out of 3, not the other way around. So that's inherently unfair when you lose to somebody. Oh no, that's inherently unfair when you lose to somebody that most people consider to be your equal. Probably the only person at the time they consider to be your equal. You lost.
Did he really lose though? Did he really lose?
Yeah, he lost. Like the Takeover is a better beat, but that's it. And I'm gonna tell you why he lost. He lost because he was cocky. He thought Nas was done, and that was gonna do it. And so his arrogance got him beat, and that needs to be noted and remembered. Like he could have won, but he was arrogant. He thought he had it like that, and he got stepped on for it.
And it's a
rule of thumb. No, for as competitive as you call him, the one time that he wasn't as competitive as he should be, he got burned. He got burned bad because the hook, the Ether's better than all of the Takeover.
This is what I would say. And this is what I would say, man. And obviously, Ether was the answer to Takeover. And I think that we all know that Super Ugly is the reason why this thing got called the other way. Because basically, Super Ugly was against Ether, right? But what I would
No. I mean, Mike, how about this? Put the Stillmatic freestyle up against Super Ugly. He loses that too.
We can't move things around. We got to do it in chronological. Cool.
Hold on, Mike. He pulled the whole team card over the Rakim beat. Stop.
No, I feel you. In my opinion, I
shoot up the freeway and eat beans fast. Mike, shoot up the freeway and eat beans fast. He licked shots off at the whole crew. That's way better than Super Ugly.
I got you. And I feel like Stillmatic, to me, Stillmatic and Last Real Nigga Alive are probably my 2 favorite records in that whole situation. But what I'm saying is, usually, and especially during that time, you lose a battle, you're done. And I think Jay's response was the Blueprint 2, where he was rapping his ass off. And then the Black Album, where he took it to an even, further extent. So I'm not saying that.
What do you mean on the Black Album when he took it to a further extent?
I'm talking about making one of his best albums he's ever made. That was his response as a competitor. His response was to, you know what? I'm not gonna die. Cause really, the Blueprint 2,
So
let's keep it real.
I'm gonna
Hold on, let me
submit
finish real
something to
quick.
you.
The Blueprint 2
Hold
was
on, hold
a
on,
very
I'm
important
gonna,
record. That was a make or break album for Jay. That if he would have
What?
dropped the Blueprint 2, if Jay would have dropped a straight up dud, he would have been done after Ether.
It's not that good.
But
I'm
he's
gonna
rapping
give
really
Jay.
good though.
He rapped his ass off.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He needed to.
Yeah.
I will say this about no. I've always said this about Jay. Ether made me realize how incredibly big and Rakim, like in a sense that he was, because I think if Nas does that kind of record to anybody except for maybe Rakim in '88 or Big in '97, their career is over, Mike.
That's what I'm saying.
Like over.
That's
no. So hold on. So hold on. But that has to do with the regard that he was held in. Ether's the reminder that you might be holding the wrong guy in that regard. He's not Rakim in '88. That's Nas. He's not Big in '97. That's Nas. And Nas had already been that guy before Jay ever even came along.
Of course.
It's like, yeah.
King of the town. Yeah, I've been that. Yeah, I got you.
No. All Nas did was remind people, he's like, enjoy all this flossing. Enjoy this fashion show. Enjoy all the bling. Don't ever get it fucked up who can rhyme better. And Nas can rhyme better than Jay. And that's really why I don't think Jay is the greatest MC of all time. It is literally tied in the fact that he can't out-rap Nas. And when he had the opportunity to, he lost. Do you want
to do that 5 and 5 with Jay and Nas? Do you want to do that top 5 albums with Jay and Nas and put those against each other? Because okay, Illmatic is better than Reasonable Doubt. Gotcha. But the Blueprint is better than It Was Written.
Yeah, the Blueprint's better than any of Nas' second albums. Like, how about this? The Blueprint's beating everybody's second album except for like what? Big, Rockin', like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's hard to beat the Blueprint. So yeah.
I would say that the Black Album's better than Stillmatic.
I feel the same way about both of those albums. But if you told me the Black Album was better, I wouldn't. Like, how about this? The flows on the Black Album are so brilliant that it's like it's hard to argue with that. But Nas is really, really special on Stillmatic. That's probably the best time. But how about this? No, I don't think that the Black Album is better. How about this?
Oh, my God. Okay, we'll put that one up, too.
I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why. Because Stillmatic's the last time you see special Nas. And special Nas is still better than Jay with his variety of flows. Jay don't have nothing like Rewind on the Black Album. There's nothing brilliant on the most brilliant record on the Black Album is probably 99 Problems. If we're talking conceptually, it don't got nothing on Rewind or One Mic. The intro to Stillmatic, lyrically is just as good as Public Service Announcement.
I think Public Service Announcement is better than Public Service Announcement is better than every song on Stillmatic.
No, it's not.
It is, man.
No, I don't. Hold on. No, I don't agree with that necessarily. It's not better than One Mic or Rewind Mic. It's not. I'm sorry. Can Jay tell a story backwards?
I mean,
hold on. Can Jay tell a story forwards, Mike?
That's nice and all, but I mean, you know.
Jay, no, everybody, no. Like, I get it, Mike. For me, it's just like he's great. He's all-time great. He's one of my favorites. He's been in my top 5 to 7 for so long. It's ridiculous. I hate all these guys that think that they can be him because at the end of the day, they can't rap like Jay. But he's not better than Nas. And I'll even give you this. You know what? I've been having this conversation for so long. You remember Yaya?
Mm-hmm.
Yaya used to tell me that Jay and Nas are like Emmett Smith and Barry Sanders. He said, Jay is like Emmett Smith. It's like every time you hand him the rock, he's going to get you 5 yards. And, you know, if you look at the end of the game, he's going to have about 20 carries, 150 yards, a couple touchdowns, MVP numbers. He was like, Nas is like Barry Sanders. He was like, you might give him the ball 3 or 4 times, he'll have -3 yards. And then you'll give him the ball 2 times, and he'll go break a 50-yard run for a touchdown on back-to-back plays. And for me, the same way I feel about Emmett versus Barry is the way that I feel about Jay versus Nas. It's like, yeah, those 5 yards every time is cool, but that shit that I just saw that guy do, I know I've never seen that again. That's the guy.
I mean, you know, I kind of disagree with that comparison.
Because here's my thing. What Nas does, nobody can duplicate. Rick Ross has had a Jay-Z-like career with his hits and his status. You can't do what Nas do, though. Ain't no silent murders or taking in blood. I gave you power, rewind, one mic, do-rags, no ideas, original. Listen to how many mind-blowing records I'm naming off the top of my dome, not on Illmatic.
I mean, let's not act like Jay doesn't have like imaginary players, streets is watching and stuff like that.
No. He's got Mike.
He's got some
shit. If we make a highlight tape of MCs, Nas is Barry Sanders. It's like, yeah, all these other guys are great and going into the Hall of Fame, but that guy's on some other shit.
Jay did a whole hour show of B-sides with none of his hits. Nas can't do that.
Mike, Nas, how about this? Would Jay's unreleased material ever be considered one of his 5 greatest albums? Think about how great you have to be for your throwaways to be one of your 5 best pieces of released work.
But his throwaway stuff is better. But see, he's a special case where a lot of the times his throwaway stuff is better than the shit that they put out.
Thank you. You're making my point for me.
No, I'm just saying, like,
it's better than some of the shit that they put out. He's the best.
I don't think it. That's not how I was saying it.
How about this?
The stuff that he puts out is not the best. Is what I'm saying.
Mike, I'm going to tell you something very factual about Jay's career. Never in Jay's career could Jay afford to throw away a record like Do Rags or You're the Man or Purple or Drunk by Myself and just put it somewhere. His catalog ain't like that. Jay can't go pull records out from 5 to 7 years ago and make them sound classic because he really doesn't make classic music outside of a few classic albums. He's a timepiece guy. You can't go catalog his shit away and go pull it back out. Like Volume 2 hasn't aged well, Mike. Volume 2 has not aged well.
But see, this is the thing, Coop. Jay makes albums, at that time, made albums every single year. Nas doesn't work like that. And so when you do make that much music and you come out with records every single year, of course your stuff is going to be a timepiece. Because you're putting out music for the year. Like, it is what it is. And so by the time...
Well, here's what I'm saying. One guy does 25 tracks. No, one guy records 25 songs. You hear an album every year. The other guy records 25 songs. You might not hear any of those songs. He's not working more. He's putting out more material.
But when you put it out, that's working more because you got to work those records. And you got to make these records. You're making these records with the intent to put them out. So it's a different process.
Here's what I'll give you. Jay is a better delivery wise than Nas. He has a better delivery. He's more charismatic than Nas is on the mic. Delivery wise and charisma wise, Jay is better than Nas. But and if you want to say he's a better album maker, I'll give it to you because I consider their catalog to be comparable. It's in that Kanye, Scarface, Ghostface, Common, Nas, Jay. It's like, yeah, I know you got like 5, 6, 7 dope projects. Like, I get it. But everything else is Nas. Nas is a better lyricist. Nas is a better storyteller. Nas has the better album between the catalogs. You know, he has the best album of the bunch. And so, like, I'm not saying it's not like a fair debate or competition. I'm just saying I would lean towards Nas. I've always told people, like, the difference between the guy that I think who is the greatest MC ever, which would probably be Nas, and the guy who I would have at 6 or 7, which would probably be like Ghostface, Scarface, Jay, Pac, Big, like one of the, like, the difference is like this, Mike.
But I think the bigger difference is who's made better music in the past 20 years? Like in the 2000s, if you put Jay and Nas neck and neck for the work that they've done since the year 2000. Anything outside of the 90s, it's not even close, man.
Yeah, it's Jay, but people have been listening to Nas since '91, so that's not fair to Nas. Jay's late to the party too, and he's late to the party, and he's
2
older.
years behind.
Nice.
Let's
He
go
was
with
around
official
just
releases.
He wasn't as good. He wasn't as good early. Hold on. So if we wanna call it, he wasn't as good as Nas early. He wasn't as good as Nas in the middle. He was better than Nas late.
He was better than Nas in the middle too.
No.
Now I give you early.
When?
What are we talking about? What's the middle? The middle is what, 2001?
I mean, I'm about to say, I would consider the middle. That's what I'm saying. Because of when Nas arrived, Nas's middle is like starting to happen like when Jay's prominence is starting to happen, and it didn't last long because he got ethered. That's what I'm saying. The time that you think Jay is viably better than Nas and it's clear, that's like a 1 or 2 year period before ether gets dropped.
All right,
we talking about a 2 year period. He was better.
You want to go year by year?
Like what? Oh, so I'm gonna give Jay 97 to 2000.
Because I would say in 96, Jay came. Nas 94. We're talking about a 2 year difference. Jay dropped his debut album the same year Nas dropped his sophomore album. I think that Jay outlasted him, man. Now, this is a marathon. This isn't a sprint. If this was a 100-meter dash, Nas all the way. But if we're talking about this whole race, we got to give it to Jay. I mean, it is what it is, man. And if we talk about bar for bar, they're not that far apart. Like you said, it's like that. And yeah, I would say that lyrically, I would say Nas is probably one of the best I've ever heard. Rakim is the best lyricist I've ever heard. I would say Nas right after that. But Jay is not that far behind lyrically. But what is a big space is when we talk about these hits and when we talk about the versatility, when we talk about the catalog, album for album, we talk about the singles, we talk about, everything that encompasses music.
But
it's
let's
a big
sit down
space.
And really, Mike, but let's really sit down and go album for album and let's really break down some things. Like, let's talk about the fact that it's like Nas is arguably the greatest storyteller ever, and he blows Jay out of the water in those categories. Like, he blows Jay away as a storyteller. There's nothing that Jay does that's blowing Nas away. Like, Jay's catalog doesn't blow Nas's catalog away. Jay's hits aren't blowing Nas's hits away. Not blowing, Mike, not his hits.
If we put their top 10 albums up against each other, I got Jay winning that one a good 7-3. A good 7-3.
What are Jay's 5 best albums?
I'm saying 10. Jay's 5 best albums.
Oh, we can do 10 too, but I think you're gonna find it. That's what I'm saying. Jay's
once
material
we get to 6 through
as well as you think that you're talking. Like, his material hasn't held up as well as you're talking about because he doesn't make timeless music like Nas does. You can still cut on rewind and you're like, damn, this guy's brilliant.
Yeah.
You go cut on and you're like, damn, this sounds like 1999.
But Nas is a great writer. Bar for bar. Jay puts the songs together much better, chooses production much better, obviously.
He's had a team. So the things you're speaking to is speaking to the fact that he's had a much more of a team and much more help than Nas. That's why the songs are coming out better. He's not better. You're making my point. You're speaking to the camp and team. That's what I'm trying to get you to understand. If you go, how about this, Mike? If we pull up Jay's 50 best songs and Nas's 50 best songs, half of Jay's songs gonna have features, not Nas's. Facts, Mike. They don't got Jay's 25 best records by himself. Nas would blow on them.
I'm willing to. We
25,
should.
Mike.
Yeah, I'm willing.
No guest appearances. No. If you want to talk about like the best ever, I'll take Nas's best 25 tracks of just Nas, and you go show me 25 J songs that you got with no features. You're not gonna win, Mike.
I'm up for that challenge.
Because a lot of his, Mike, his best records, you just lost half of his best records.